Howdy, guys.
Hey, how are you?
Brenda,
Yes, me.
Avery. All right. So she's going to show you guys a live video on the Solaris using a stamp. Okay. Now we could do this stamp with IQ with any machine.
Yes.
Okay. So this is going to be a little fun under the needle thing that she's going to talk to you about. We're going to turn it over to her. It is Saturday at 1 o'clock. All right, guys. I hope y'all having a great Saturday. What a nice day today, by
I
the way.
know, it is nice. All right, good morning, well, actually afternoon, everybody. I wanted to show you a little bit of something about what I did. So what this is, I took a design from the machine, put it in here, made a stamp, and then I created another stamp so I would have a line here, and then I created a box around it and was able to fill all of that in. But we're going to show you how to do a simple stamp in IQ. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to start in IQ Designer. And like Avery said, any of the machines that have IQ Designer, you can do this. The features may be a little bit different, but other than that, everything is great. So we're going to come in here and start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up a shape. So I'm going to make a square, and I'm going to set that up. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to select my size. Now, if you have a Solaris, this is something that's new. You can click on this little keypad up here, and you can actually put what size you want in the box, and then tell it set, and then 7.5 and set again. If you do not have the Solaris, then what you will have these little buttons that you can take out and in and just change your size to this. So now that I've got my 7.5, we're going to tell it okay. So that is going to be the perimeter of my box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to set that as a no-sew line. So I click on the line properties, which these top ones here are the line properties. So I click on this and I come down here to no-sew. What I'm doing is I'm just creating a perimeter right now so that I can put fill stitches in these boxes. So I hit my bucket and I click on that. Now that is a no-sew line. So what I did is we have this, and we're going to put this in memory, and we're going to save this. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go to my memory, pull this back in and tell it okay. And now I'm going to assign an attribute to that. I want to put my candle wicking on that. So I'm going to select color. Let me go back into this. I'm going to select a color, and I'm going to tell candle wicking, and then I'm going to hit my bucket, and I'm going to assign the candle wicking. So then I'm going to go memory, save that to memory. I'm going to go to next. The reason I did this one first, I don't want all of that heavy candle wicking on here. As you can see on this, I put the candle wicking at a distance. And what I like to do is when I do my candle wicking, I like to make sure that there's a dot in each corner. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to leave this size of the candle wicking stitch itself the same thing. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to come down and I'm going to take this to about 0.12. Let's see how that does. That should even them out or space them out and put one candle wick stitch in each corner, and it did. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it memory again, save this in the memory, and I'm going to go set and tell it okay. All right, so for right now, we're going to come out of this. We're going to come to home and tell it okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come here and we're going to pull a design up. And we're going to try to find something that we can make a stamp with. Let's see what I can find that will be good for a stamp. So just bear with me for a second. All right, so let's do this. Let's take this moon. So we're going to take the moon and we're in embroidery, and we're going to tell it set. So what we do at this point, we can do a couple of different things. We can see what the size of this is. So this is roughly a 5 by 5 block. So we're going to tell it okay. So in this screen here, in the edit screen, we're going to click on this little stamp. So once we click on that, it's going to ask us two things. Do we want the distance to be right on the outline of the design, or do we want it to be away from it? Now, like on this one, what we can do is, because there's an open space here, we could actually tell it to turn that on the inside. I don't want to do that. I only want on this outside edge. But what I want to do, I want to move that out just a tiny bit away from that design. So we're going to take this out about right there. I can see just a little bit of difference or space in between here. So we're going to take that, we're going to take it to 0.48. And so just as a nice way to remember things, it's always nice to have a pen and paper and put down that distance. So 0.048 in case you ever need to have to change it. So at this point, we're going to hit memory. And what that's going to do, that's going to take that and put that into the memory on the IQ side of the machine. So we're going to tell it okay. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go back into the stamp again, because I want to make two stamps so that I can have a distance between them. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this out as far as it'll go. So it's going, you're going to have to bear with me. But as you can see, the more I click on this, the further away that line is getting around the outside edge. So let me get this all the way out. I think this is going to go out to like 0.4. So it'll roughly equate to almost a ½ an inch in between the original outline and the second outline. So just bear with me, we're getting it there. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make this space in between here and here so that I can go in there and put a fill inside of there. So it's almost there. And when it gets to the point where it can't go anymore, you'll hear that knock knock. Okay. So now we've got that, so now we tell it memory again. So now that has put that into the memory of IQ. So we're going to tell it okay. All right. So now we're going to come back out here to home. We're going to tell it okay. So we're going to go into IQ Designer. We're going to go into our pocket. And we're going to pull up the square that we made earlier. And we're going to tell that a note, make it a no sew. Hit my bucket, make it a no sew. And now I'm going to come here to the shapes and I'm going to pull in those two stamps. So here's the first one, I'm going to pull it in. And then I'm going to go back to the stamp and I'm going to pull the second one in. All right. So now at this point, what I want to do, these are no-sew lines. I don't want them no-sew. I want to make one of them a triple stitch. So we're going to click on this and we're going to click the triple stitch. We're going to select the color, tell it okay. So I want this inner line to be a triple stitch. So I'm going to touch my bucket and I'm going to touch that right there. So now that is a triple stitch when we stitch it out. But I want this line and this line to be candle wicking. So I'm going to come back up here, click the candle wicking, tell it okay, my bucket, and I'm going to hit this one and this one. So at this point we can tell it next. So now this is where we can set the attributes of these two candle wicking. See, there's their candle wicking stitch. That's just too much for me. So what I'm going to do now, instead of doing these separately, if I hit this little chain link, whatever I do to change the attributes on one, it's going to change it to the other. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to take this out to 1.24, I believe. we'll take and look and see what that looks like, and we'll go from there. All right, that's either went too much, so let's go back in here and take this down just a hair and see if that puts my designs or my shape right in the very corner. Okay, so I need to take this to 0.120 for this size square so that I have one candle wicking stitch in each corner. So we're going to tell it memory again, since we've got that set. So memory and set and okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to put some fill stitches in here. So we're going to go add IQ Designer. We're going to go back up here to the pocket and we're going to pull this in. Tell it okay. Well, we don't want this to sew again. So here again, we're going to make this a no sew. We just have to have a barrier to know where to put our stitches. So we're going to make it no sew, no sew, and no sew. So I'm going to come here for the fills. I'm going to click the stippling, and I'm going to pick a different color. Tell it okay. And then I'm going to click my bucket, and I want this stippling to be in between these two. So that's where my stippling is going to be. So then I'm going to come back up here to the fill again, and I'm going to select one of my fills. So what I want to do is I want to come down here and I want to select this one as my fill. And we're going to tell it okay. We've already got the color selected, and tell it okay again. And then I'm just going to click right in here. All right, so at this point, we're ready to go to the next step. So we're going to tell it next. So now what I want to do is I want to change the attributes on that stippling. I want that really like a micro stippling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the stipple, and I'm going to come here so I can change that distance. I'm going to take that distance down as far as I can. I really want, so we're going to take it down to 100. So now you can see when this comes back, this is very, very, very tiny stippling. So then I'm going to leave the crosshatch in the background. I'm going to leave it at the same size, and right now that is at 100. So we're going to do that. So we're going to tell it memory, since we've got all of this changed. We're going to go to the machine, then we're going to tell it set and okay. So now you can see what we have is we have the candle wicking, and then we have the fill. So I don't want to leave it this way. Well, let's go ahead and add our moon in here. So now we're going to tell it add, but now we need to go into the embroidery side. So we're going to go to the pocket. Oh, nope, hold up. Now we're going to come back up here. Let's come back up here and let's find this. Let's find this moon again. All right, so there's our moon, and I'm going to tell it set. So it's going to set that moon just inside of there. So we're going to tell it memory, save it again. It's always better to save because you never know where you may need to go back into IQ and change something. So what I want to do is I want this fill to stitch first before the candle wicking. So I can come here to edit, and then I can check this little box right here. And now this is on the Solaris, and I can tell it that I want this stitch to stitch before. So we're going to tell it to go up here. So now what it's going to do, it's going to stitch all of this stitching here and here first, and then it would come in here and it would do all of the candle wicking, and then it would do the moon. So now we're going to tell this okay, and then we tell it memory in the machine, and now we could go to embroidery, and that would be our design. So it would take out, it's going to be just a little bit larger than 7.5 inches, and it's going to take 24 minutes to stitch out. But this is how you would do that. So, and we're going to show you a close-up. So that's how it would stitch. It's going to stitch all of this micro stitching or micro stippling first, then it's going to stitch this, then it's going to come back and it's going to do all of this candle wicking on top of that, plus you've got your triple stitch, your bean stitch around here, and then it's going to come in here and then stitch this. So you can do the same thing with an alphabet. So we're going to close this, and I'm going to show you just a simple. So let's come in here and let's get an alphabet. So if I wanted to come in here, let's just get this letter here. This is a bigger letter. So let's do an M. So we're going to tell it set, and then we're going to go into edit, and we're going to do size, and we're going to take this letter as large as we can get it.
Y'all are having too much fun in here.
Okay, so it's really rather small, but we're going to tell it okay. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to take, now this size is roughly 3 by 3. So we just need to remember that. So then we're going to make a stamp of this. But what we want to do is we want to take and move this. And I like to make it so it's kind of even across the bottom here and even across the top. So just do whatever you need to do about getting that. And if you like it this way, you can leave it that way. It's just personal preference. So as long as I can get that bottom one pretty straight, I'll be happy. So we'll go out there, let's just go right there. And we're going to tell it memory. And it's going to throw it into the memory, into the IQ. And we're going to tell it okay. So at this point, we just tell it memory. So it remembers the letter because we changed the size. And we're going to put that in the sewing machine. And now we're just going to go home and tell it okay. So now we're going to come into IQ Designer. We're going to pull up a circle. We're going to change the size of that circle. We're going to bring it down to 5 by 5. Tell it okay. So now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our stamp. Come back up here to the stamp. We're going to bring this M in and tell it okay. And now what we can do is we can hit the fill here. Come here. And let's see, let's find something interesting to put behind here. Let's do the mermaid scales and tell it okay. We're going to get a bright color. Let's get this pretty green here. So now, one thing I have to do is hit my bucket, and I can click here. And then I want to put a satin stitch around it. So I'm going to come here, and I'm just going to do a satin stitch, and we're going to do a lighter green. Tell it okay. So then I click this, and there would be here. And so now we're going to go to next. Well, I want this satin stitch to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to tell it I want it wider. So we're going to tell it 1.18 and tell it okay. And then I want to click on the fill, and I'm going to change that fill, and I'm going to go down tighter with that. So we're going to take that down to 50% and tell it okay. So that's what that would be. So we're going to tell it memory, save it to memory, set, okay. And then we're going to tell it add, but we're going in on the embroidery side this time, so we're using the embroidery pocket. So here's my letter, and set, memory, and embroidery. So now you have a coaster that you have monogrammed, that has no stitching behind your letter. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it. It's very simple. We wanted to show you how to make a stamp. There's a lot of nice, really unique things that you can do with this. So I hope everybody has a great day. And like we said, if you have any questions, put the questions in the comment boxes and I'll go back and look at the video later. I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.